This episode of the EuroPuck podcast is brought to you by DraftKings. Now, the playoffs are in full swing and the action is increasing and getting more intense as the games go on. We're into the final four teams now in the NHL and the NBA, particularly in the NBA. The four teams that are left, none of them have won the championship since 1971. We're in for a great end to the playoffs in both of these sports. And DraftKings is giving you the opportunity to cash in on that with free-to-play pools every day of the basketball playoffs with a free shot at up to $10,000 in total prizes. Yes, $10,000 in total prizes up for grabs every day. And as I said, it's free to play. They're easy to enter. Just download the DraftKings app, go to pools and choose from a wide variety of free contests for an opportunity to win cash prizes. All you have to do is answer a handful of questions around what you think is going to happen during that day's basketball games and track your results throughout the evening. Questions will range from which team will hit the most threes to which team will score first. DraftKings is safe, secure and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your money at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings app now and use promo code THPN when you sign up to get your free shot at $10,000 in total prizes every day of the playoffs. Head to the DraftKings pools page to get your shot at huge cash prizes using promo code THPN for a limited time only at DraftKings. And a big thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring this episode. Hello, bonjour, hello, hi, hey, and привет, hockey fans. Welcome back to another episode of the EuroPuck podcast, the show where one Brit talks all things European hockey as part of the Hockey Podcast Network. My name is Chris Gadsby, and as regular listeners and viewers to the podcast will know, usually I'm joined by Odd Man Rush over there on the left-hand side of the screen, but he is currently loving life in Canada away for the summer, so you have just got me between now and the end of September, or as we will find out later on in the episode, between now and when all of the leagues are well underway. But we'll get on to all of the start dates later on in today's episode. Now, because we're in the summer and there isn't kind of hockey going on at the moment for us to talk about, and the fact that I am on my own rather than having Hayden alongside me to discuss everything that's been going on, these episodes over the summer are going to be less frequent and a bit shorter as well. I've got a bit of a plan together with regards to the draft. We've got when the leagues are starting up again. I've got a bit of a plan as to what I'm going to do over the summer and when we're going to start the weekly episodes again. I'll go back through all that towards the end of this episode as well. What I'm going to aim for is a fortnightly episode just to round up all of the news that's been going on, let you guys know what's happening across European hockey, and then we should, in a couple of months' time, when the Champions Hockey League starts again, we will be back into weekly episodes with all the leagues starting, and then it will be just me through to the end of September when Hayden will rejoin me here on the EuroPuck podcast. But we have an awful lot of news to go through over the past couple of weeks. Plenty has been happening. Some of it exciting, some of it is kind of news but not telling you anything yet because we're waiting for further decisions, and I asked for your input as well, and I'll get on to some of your input later on. But we will start first with the Champions Hockey League, and the reason for that is because after we finished our weekly episodes and we rounded up everything and we had our Champions Hockey League discussion, it came out from the Champions Hockey League that Yunuts Minsk from Belarus will not be participating in the Champions Hockey League due to the current political situation in Belarus, because the CHL cannot guarantee the safety of the teams and the players, the spectators, the officials going in and around Belarus. So the wild card to Yunuts Minsk was withdrawn, and it left everybody thinking, right, what is the Champions Hockey League going to do here? Do they go to the last Continental Cup runners-up, the Nottingham Panthers? Do they find a completely different country? And I had a look, I think the last time I recorded the episode, I had a look at that and said, well, is it going to be Iceland? No, not really, because there's only 3 teams. Is it going to be from Hungary? Is it going to be from somewhere else? And I had ruled out Slovakia because the Slovakian wildcard had gone already. That had been taken away from them in the sense that they weren't participating as they had before. That's why it then went over to Ukraine. But then it has come back to Slovakia with the side Slovan Bratislava. So I'll just read the press release for those listening to the audio version of this podcast. So the CHL board has decided to allocate a wildcard to Slovan Bratislava for the upcoming season. The renowned Slovak club joins the competition after Belarusian champions Yunuts Minsk was withdrawn, as I said. The 8-time Extra League champions and ex-KHL team will make their debut in the Champions Hockey League this season and will compete in Group F, facing Ocelari Třinec of the Czech Extraliga, the Swiss side Fribourg Gotthard, and fellow debutants Leksands IF from Sweden. There was a statement that came out. It is the CHL's objective via the wildcard system to appoint deserving clubs and to contribute to the development of European club ice hockey by having a participation field as internationally diverse as possible. The nomination of Slovan Bratislava offers us the opportunity to welcome back Slovakia to our competition, a country with a storied hockey tradition and a track record of producing top quality hockey players. Slovan Bratislava is a well-known, illustrious brand, and the club is celebrating its 100th anniversary this year and showed great interest in showcasing itself on the European stage by competing in the CHL. For this reason, the CHL board decided to allocate a wildcard and the 32nd place in the 2021-2022 season to them. So yeah, that's Slovan Bratislava are basically doing a straight swap with Yunuts Minsk. So they will face Třinec, Fribourg Gotthard and Leksands from Sweden in Group F of the Champions Hockey League. Now, the one sentence that jumps out at me in that is the one that says, I've lost it again now, by having a participation field as internationally diverse as possible, which you would sense is one of the reasons why Slovakia, the Slovakian side of Bratislava, got the preference over, say, the Continental Cup runners-up of the Nottingham Panthers, because the United Kingdom already has the Cardiff Devils in the Champions Hockey League for next season. So this extends the number of countries. It's a straight swap, of course, but it extends the number of countries that are in the Champions Hockey League rather than reducing it by 1. So we have still got, I believe, 12 countries in the Champions Hockey League for next season, which is quite frankly brilliant. It'll be interesting to see how Slovan Bratislava do. Do they have more of a chance, perhaps, than Minsk would have done? As it says in the statement, ex-KHL team, 8-time Slovak Extraliga champions. Do they have more of a chance against Leksands, Fribourg Gotthard and Třinec than Minsk would have done? I suspect perhaps. I will be honest and say that my knowledge of the Slovakian league is not particularly high. But I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do. The thing I found interesting, if I just bring up on my second screen, unfortunately I won't have it on here, but I'll just bring it up quickly, is the final standings from the Slovakian league last year, because when it comes up for me, following they did do well. Slovan Bratislava, they finished 4th in the Slovakian Extraliga. I'm going to have to get used to that because I keep wanting to say the Czech Extraliga. In the Slovakian Extraliga, they finished 4th on 94 points from 50 games. That was 9 points behind Zvolen, who went on to actually win the playoffs as well. Bratislava were knocked out in the semi-finals in 5 games by Zvolen. So be interesting there to see. I find it interesting that the CHL has awarded a wild card to a team that, yes, has a lot of history, but didn't win the league last year. Maybe there's more into that I'm not aware of. But obviously it's the Champions Hockey League, and a wild card has been given to a team who finished 4th and got knocked out in the semi-final stage of the playoffs. Seems slightly strange from my point of view anyway. And again, I don't know the politics of the Slovakian Extraliga, so there might be a very good reason for that. I'm just myself unsure about what it is. But so that is the situation with the Slovakian team in the Champions Hockey League for next season. The Champions Hockey League, of course, getting started on August the 26th. So we're now, just shy, when this comes out, a day over 2 months away from the start of the Champions Hockey League, which is kicking off our fixtures ahead of what is hopefully going to be a less disturbed 2021-22 season for us to get our teeth into here on the EuroPuck podcast. Let's move from the Champions Hockey League. We'll move to some news in the NHL. And this is something that has got everybody very excited in the Great Britain circles, particularly after his performance in the World Championships. And it is this. Liam Kirk, the kind of UK golden boy at the moment of ice hockey, has signed his 3-year entry-level contract with the Arizona Coyotes. His agent confirmed this a few days ago now for us over here in the UK. So he's signed a 3-year entry-level contract with the Arizona Coyotes. It is not, we understand, a sign and trade deal. He will be with the Arizona Coyotes organization in some shape or form. But with regards to IIHF rules, they cannot be officially announced by Arizona themselves until free agency starts on the 28th of July. So 5 days from when I'm recording now, on June the 23rd, which will be Monday the 28th, where this can be announced by the Arizona Coyotes. Obviously, he has been thrust into the media limelight throughout the World Championships, and that brought up all the, does he deserve to get an entry-level contract? Will he? Where is he going to end up? From a UK point of view. And I've seen every single UK hockey fan very, very happy about this and excited to see what Liam Kirk can do. Not necessarily with the Arizona Coyotes, but in the AHL with the Roadrunners and the ECHL. So we'll keep a close eye on what Liam Kirk does over the next season as well. And one of the things that he said in his interview, which I found very interesting, was that obviously he doesn't want to be the only British born and trained hockey player to play in the NHL. He wants to be the first of many. And I know that I watch quite a few juniors, and there are players who have that potential in my eyes if they're kind of nurtured and keep going in the right way. But that'll be an interesting one to keep an eye on and see any more players coming through from this country and from other countries. I asked on social media a few days ago for areas that you guys wanted me to talk about, because I am just here talking to you over the course of the summer. And one of them which I saw, which I will do when I've got a chance to do a bit more research into it, is looking at other prospects from smaller, not necessarily not hockey countries, that's not the right word, but not your Swedens, your Finlands, more like your Great Britons, Denmarks. Is there any from Norway, France? Latvia, those kind of nations, looking at the prospects that are already drafted and are in the minor system over in America, or who are in the draft class. One of the things I will look at, because the draft is on July the 27th, July the 23rd and the 24th. So in the middle of July, when I record, probably on the 21st of July, I'll do an episode all around looking at the draft class list, which European players are looking likely that they'll go. This year, of course, we had more European players drafted than ever before. Is that a trend that's going to carry on? You would hope so. And look to see what those players might be able to do in the future. So that is coming up in a few episodes' time. Don't worry about that. I know because I had quite a lot of news in this episode, I haven't been able to talk about everything that everybody suggested in this episode. But don't worry, I will get to your comments, because I do think that they are really interesting topics for me to have a look at, and I will be doing that. So that is, yes, Liam Kirk's entry-level contract, which everybody here in the UK has been very excited about. Now I'm going to get on to a bit of something different. So I came up with the idea about a week ago now of what would be if you had to draft an NHL team, and maybe I'll do a live episode where once the players have been protected on July the 17th ahead of the Seattle Kraken expansion draft, maybe we can come in and we can do a live episode where you guys join me and we pretend that we are becoming the first European-based hockey team in the NHL, and we will draft our team together, obviously staying under the cap and all of that one, and trying to maybe pick European players wherever possible. So if that's something you'd like to get involved in, let me know. And if I can get that sorted, what I'll do is I'll plan it plenty in advance. We'll give it plenty of exposure and hopefully get quite a few people in. But what I suggested is that we have your European team. So if you were the general manager of an NHL team and you wanted only Europeans in your team, who would you pick? And I asked for that, and you could put your rosters in on Cap Friendly, and Jussi did just that. I'll get his team up here now. Now he says that this wouldn't really survive too long because of the need for a lot of entry-level contracts to stay under the cap, and that's something I noticed when I was doing my team as well. Is that if you're not with European players, they either seem to be on very, very low wages because they're kind of fourth-line players, don't play that much, and they're 1 million, that sort of thing. Or they're your Leon Draisaitl superstars, what have you, and they're up at 8-9 million, and there's not a great deal of in between. But this is Jussi's roster, who is just under $150,000 underneath the cap. He's got a top line of Kirill Kaprizov, Alexander Barkov, and Mikko Rantanen. Second line, Andrei Shevchenko, Sebastian Aho, and Teuvo Teravainen. So the teams are really low, so I'm having to squint in to look at them. Third line, Kevin Fiala, Leon Draisaitl, and Joel Kivarantia. Fourth line of Gabriel Landeskog, Ruth Hintz, and Leo Komarov. And then a spare left winger of Yanni Kukkonen. In defence, a top pairing of Roman Josi and Miro Heiskanen. A second pairing of Rasmus Dahlin and Yanni Hakanpää. A third line of Willie Hinola and Henry Yukaru. And we've got a fourth pairing here of Jussi Rikola and Sami Niku. The goaltenders of Andrei Vasilevsky and Kapu Kakkonen. Now, I really liked this. I was looking at doing my team as well, and I was finding that, I haven't put my team up here. I'll show you what I've done later, just for to show it off. But I find that you were coming along the same players and then encountering the same problems. And other than swapping a few entry-level contracts around and a couple of other players around, it's difficult to come up with too much of a different team. Because as I said, when you want to put your Draisaitl's in and your top players in that are going to get you your points and your top six, you've used so much of your salary cap already when you put the decent net minding in as well, and some decent defense. You've used all your salary cap up, and I've had to use entry level contracts and players on a really low wage in your bottom six. It's kind of very top heavy roster that you've got here as a European team. But I really like this roster, and I think Jussi, you've done a really, really good job with this. So what I'll do now, and this is my roster which I haven't stuck to the cap. What I've done, when I was doing mine and I discovered that it was incredibly similar to Jussi's, bar a couple of entry-level contracts, I thought, well, rather than just shoving Liam Kirk in there, which every Brit would do, and having pretty much the same roster and going on about it, I thought, what would be the kind of best European roster on paper that you could have? So I went on to Elite Prospects, sorted it by position, looked for the European players, and this is the ultimate, I'm calling it, European NHL team. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you and the quick at mental maths amongst you will realise that this is quite an expensive roster. And it is. The salary cap is 81.5 million, and this comes in at just under 140 million. We're about $50 million over the salary cap here. But this was purely, for me, an experimental, what is the best possible European side that you could have? And what this shows is quite how many strong European players there are in the NHL at the moment. So, starting at the top line, we've got Artemi Panarin, Leon Draisaitl and Mikko Rantanen on the top line. Sebastian Aho, Nicholas Backstrom and Gabriel Landeskog on the second line. Nikolaj Ehlers, Alexander Barkov and Kirill Kaprizov on the third line. Andre Palat, Mika Zibanejad and David Pasternak on the fourth line. Two spare forwards of Andrei Burakovsky and Pavel Buchnevich. You can see there, as I was comparing that to Jussi's, we've got Draisaitl in there, Aho's in there, Barkov's in there, Kaprizov's in there, Landeskog's in there. A lot of the same players are in there, which is why I didn't just want to go through the same thing again. In defence then, we've got Ekman Larsson and Klingberg as the top pair, Victor Hedman and Miro Heiskanen as the second pair, Ivan Provorov and Filip Hronik as the third pair, and Mikhail Sergachev as the seventh defenceman. And then in terms of goaltenders, Semyon Varlamov, who had the highest save percentage of European netminders, and then Philip Grubauer, who had the lowest goals against average of any European netminders. But you can see there, when you've got Panarin at 11.5 million, Draisaitl at 8.5 million, there's 20 million. There's a quarter of your cap gone in those two players themselves. Mikko Rantanen at 9.25 million, so you're up to 30 million now just in your top line. Sebastian Aho at 8.5, Nicholas Backstrom at 9.2, and Landeskog at 5.5. There again, you're on another 23 million there, so that's 53 million in your top six. Which is, if you're spending 53 million on your top six, and then you've only got 28 million to fill out the other 16 players on your rosters, and you can only afford to pay them 1.5 million each, you're going to be very top heavy. Nikolai Ehlers, 6 million, Barkov 6 million, Kaprizov is on 925,000. But the thing I found interesting as well is that I did my team after Jussi had sent me his, and over the course of him sending me his and me doing mine, the year had ticked over and essentially into next year's salaries and everything. So whereas Jussi had players who had 6 years left on their contracts, in the case of Panarin, I had 5. So Kaprizov, who had a year left on his contract, is an RFA for me, and things like that. So it changed again as well. But that is, if you are, if the salary cap ever gets up to about 140 million, you could have those players. Although I suspect if the salary cap went up to 140 million, those players would be on about 20 million anyway. So that is the kind of ultimate European team, shall we say. And just for kind of reference in those, the ultimate in inverted commas, European team has 6 Russians, 2 Germans, 7 Swedish, 3 Czech Republic, 4 from Finland, and 1 Danish player. So 6 countries represented there in the 22 players of the what I'm going to call the ultimate European team. Right. Let's get on to, we're now 25 minutes in. Let's get on to the final piece of news that we need to look at in this episode of the EuroPuck podcast, and that is the starting dates for next year, because we've had loads of them coming in. Let's bring them up here, get our good old graphic up again. Haven't used this for a year now. So, in front of you there on the video version, I will read them all out for the anyone listening as well for the audio version of this. We are starting on August the 26th, just 2 months away, so about 8 weeks away. August the 26th is the opening round of games of the Champions Hockey League. We're back at it in just 2 months' time. Then the Danish Metal-Ligaen on August the 31st, starting not long after that. Into September, and we've got a really busy couple of weeks with the KHL starting on September the 1st, the Swiss National League on September the 7th, the Finnish Liga on September the 9th, the Czech Extraliga and the Polish Hockeyliga on September the 10th, the SHL in Sweden and the Norwegian Fjordkraft-Ligaen on September the 11th, the Austrian Ice Hockey League on September the 17th, the Ligue Magnus in France on September the 21st, the Slovakian Extraliga on September 24th, and the Elite Ice Hockey League in Great Britain and Northern Ireland on September the 25th. We're just waiting on 2 leagues to announce their starting dates. That's the German DEL, which is still to be confirmed, as I said, and the Ukrainian Hockey League, which we have added in to the EuroPuck podcast this year because of Donetsk being in the Champions Hockey League. So we are covering the Champions Hockey League and each of the countries which have a Champions Hockey League side in them, which is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 countries. So it's all going to be really quite exciting. So we're waiting on the DEL, which you feel would go ahead. The Ukrainian Hockey League, from the reading I've been doing to try and find a date for it to start, seems that it's always a bit of a bone of contention. The Ukrainian Hockey League and the Ukrainian Ice Hockey Federation don't exactly see eye to eye from what I can understand, but they have managed to come to some sort of agreement that there will be a Ukrainian Ice Hockey League in the coming year. We went up to 8 teams for the year just gone. It used to be 6. Now it's 8. So we're just waiting to see what happens there with the Ukrainian Ice Hockey Federation and the Ukrainian Hockey League. I feel as though it might be a good few weeks yet before we know something coming out of Ukraine. But those are the dates starting as we understand it, anyway, from what we can see on news articles. And some of the leagues, for example, the SHL and the Czech Extraliga, have already put their fixtures out as well. So fans of though the teams in those countries, you can start planning your days and trying to make sure you've not got important events booked for days when your team are going to be playing. And also, if you're interested in the Danish League, I know that Hayden is with the Rungsted Sea Capitals. Every single Danish Hockey League game is going to be on TV over in Denmark. So that'll please Danish hockey fans as well. Yes, so lots of leagues for us to cover next year on the EuroPuck podcast. Let me know which league you are most looking forward to starting up again. From a obviously being able to see it point of view, it's got to be the Elite League for me, being on the being in Great Britain, but found the SHL, the Swiss National League, was particularly interesting last year as well, with Bern having a resurgence late on to get into the playoffs. Hopefully, leagues like the French League Magnus can actually get a full season in this year rather than struggling the way that they have. But hopefully, we'll just have some really good competitive hockey across Europe. And Hayden and I will be bringing you all of the results from all of the leagues throughout next season. So I did say that I would bring in, and just go back to that, we'll bring in and give you a bit of a plan over summer for what we're going to look at. So I'm planning on bringing an episode to the EuroPuck podcast every fortnight. So that would be the week commencing July the 5th. So that will come out on July the 9th. July the 23rd is my intention to bring the Euro Draft Prospects episode out of the EuroPuck podcast, because the first round of the NHL draft is going to be that evening, and then the rest on the Saturday the 24th. Then I was going to jump and only do a week after that. On July the 30th, I was going to do a recap of the draft, so we can look at all of the Europeans that have gone in the NHL draft, or at least the ones that have gone in the first few rounds anyway. And then the intention is to go back to weekly episodes of the EuroPuck podcast on August the 18th. That's Wednesday, August the 18th, back to, well, it will come out on the 20th. And that way, we will be able to do a full Champions Hockey League preview just a week before everything gets going. So, back to weekly episodes on August the 20th, but I do intend to have another 3 episodes after this one between now and then. And then Hayden is still away in Canada until the end of September. So you'll just have me for the first kind of 5-6 weeks of season 2 of the EuroPuck podcast. I'll be bringing you everything from around Europe, and then he'll back joining me in October, and you can tell him what a good job I've done without him. But that will just about do it for this episode of the EuroPuck podcast. Thank you very much for watching it if you've been viewing this on YouTube, or listening to it on any of our audio versions. Now, we were contemplating, and again, this is something that have to get your input on our Twitter at EuroPuck Podcast, is we were thinking about possibly doing this as a live series next season. Now, obviously, we put the poll up a few weeks ago about when you listen, and not everybody does it, watches or listens the moment it comes out. They go throughout the week and what have you. And they would still go up as an audio version and as a video version on YouTube. But what we were looking to do is to get into a schedule of, okay, every Wednesday, 6 p.m, it's the EuroPuck podcast, so that we know when we're recording, you guys know when to expect us, so that you can join in the conversation. Or would you just prefer it to still be as a recorded podcast? Obviously, it doesn't matter if you wouldn't be able to watch it live, because you could still comment on YouTube, let us know on social media your thoughts and everything like that. But we're just thinking of maybe changing things up a little bit, getting the discussions from you in the live chat whilst the show is going on, so it isn't just Hayden and myself talking over and over about the results, the fixtures. And again, of course, if there's anything you want us to do differently on the podcast next season, rather than us just going, oh, well, this happened in the KHL, SHL, Liga. We were thinking, maybe do we split them up into 2 groups, so we only cover each league every fortnight, or anything like that, just to change it up slightly, so we're not doing the same thing week in, week out, which gets a little bit boring for us and probably for you as well. So any suggestions like that, let us know. It's at EuroPuck Podcast on Twitter, or you can tweet me at Chris_Gadsby, or Hayden, although he's probably not going to be able to respond too much over the next few months, at OddmanRushYT. But yes, thank you very much for watching or listening this week's episode of the EuroPuck podcast. Stay safe, particularly here in the UK. We're starting to get towards the end of this. We're only about 3 weeks, allegedly, from no restrictions at all. But I know it's not quite the same situation everywhere else in Europe. So stay safe, look after yourselves, and look after somebody else. Thank you very much for watching or listening, and goodbye.